You didn't plan on this, but here you are. Maybe your dream home doesn't feel like home anymore. Maybe the walls feel too tight or too quiet. Maybe life handed you a new job in a new state with no time to think. Or maybe it's scarier than that. Maybe you're falling behind on your mortgage and you're afraid that you're going to lose everything. You're not crazy. You're not a failure. You're just standing at a crossroads. And I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not alone, and you're not out of options either. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 ways to take back control when life says that it's time to sell your home. Whether you're heartbroken, overwhelmed, or just ready to do something new, you deserve clarity, not chaos. And by the end, you'll know exactly how to move forward with confidence. Sometimes the hardest part of selling your home is not the paperwork, it's not the pricing, or even the packing. It's the moment you realize, I can't stay here anymore. Maybe the house is too small now or way too big. Maybe you're facing a job transfer or a divorce, or you're behind on payments and feel like you're running out of time. If that's you, again, you are not alone. Earlier this year, I connected with a family in a different state and referred them to an amazing agent in their local area. The family had 2 kids, a dog, both parents working full time. They bought their home during the crazy frenzy of the 2021 market, but by 2024, things had changed. They had a third child on the way, daycare costs skyrocketed, and the mortgage was suddenly more than they could comfortably handle. They were embarrassed. They were scared. They waited months before calling anyone because they didn't want to admit defeat. But when we sat down together, not to list their home, just to talk, we laid out options they didn't even know existed. Within 2 weeks, they had a plan. Within 45 days, the home was sold. And the best part, they walked away with enough equity to get a fresh start somewhere that actually fit their life. And it all started with one conversation. Look, taking that first step might feel impossible, but you don't need to have it all figured out today. Just ask the question, reach out, and let someone walk with you. Because this isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of the next chapter. And you deserve to start with it with clarity and control. Once you take that first step, the next thing I always ask is, why are you selling? And not in a cold check the box kind of way, but truly, what's the reason behind your move? Because when the process gets messy, when you're questioning offers, second guessing timing, or wondering if you should have just stayed put, your why becomes your anchor. I'll never forget one couple that I worked with. They had 2 kids, one starting middle school, the other about to go into kindergarten. They loved their home, but their home wasn't big enough for their needs anymore. The siblings were sharing a room because the mom and dad both worked from home, and they made the third bedroom an office. And it was creating constant tension in the house. Homework, sleep schedules, privacy, everything was a battle. They wrestled with the decision to move for almost a year. What if they couldn't find something else? Or what if rates went up? Or what if they regretted leaving? But when we sat down, I asked, what's the most important outcome for your family? And the wife, she took a deep breath and she said, peace in our home. That became their why. Every showing, every decision, every time they felt the stress creeping in, they came back to that simple truth. They weren't just selling a house, they were fighting for peace. And it gave them strength, not just to make the move, but to make smart decisions and confident decisions all along the way. So, what's your why? Maybe it's safety, maybe it's space or downsizing, healing or rebuilding after something hard. Whatever it is, write it down, say it out loud. Because once you're clear on that, the rest of the process becomes about protecting that why. And that changes everything. Before we dive into the next strategy, I want to make sure you've got something that can walk you through the entire process. So I've put together a free home seller playbook. It's packed with checklists, tips, real world advice to help you make smart, confident decisions from start to finish. Just go to gahomehub.com or click on the link in the description to download it completely free. Let's make sure you're prepared for every step ahead. All right, you've taken the first step, you know your why. Now it's time to talk about something most people avoid until it's way too late: your finances. I know it's not fun. I know that it's uncomfortable, sometimes even embarrassing. But the truth is, selling your home is one of the biggest financial moves that you'll ever make, especially if you're facing hardship. And waiting too long to ask for help can only make things worse. I once had a seller call me after they'd already listed with someone else. They had spent all the money that they had on paying bills on two mortgages, and nothing was happening. Weeks went by, no showings, no sale, and they were all out of money. When they finally called me after firing their other agent, they were done. They told me, "We're not paying the mortgage anymore. We just can't. The utilities, they're shut off too. The grass, it was waist high, and the house had been sitting." They were exhausted, defeated, and financially struck. But here's the thing: it wasn't too late. I knew if we could move quickly, the mortgage company wouldn't have time to act. I asked her, "If I cover the cost of getting the utilities back on, will you turn them on?" And she said, "Sure, why not?" I did something most agents wouldn't even consider. I showed up with my lawnmower. I spent 2 days cutting that grass, hauling trash, wiping down countertops. I made that house feel like home again, not just for buyers, but for her, because she needed someone to believe that this could still work. We listed it, and it went under contract in 1 day. Here's why I share that story: because protecting your finances doesn't always look like some big dramatic rescue. Sometimes it's just being honest with where you are. Sometimes it's asking for help sooner than you feel comfortable doing, and sometimes it's choosing someone who's willing to get in the weeds, literally, and help you do what needs to be done. So, if you're behind on payments, if your savings are low, or if you're scared to even open the bills on the kitchen counter, please know there's still time. But the sooner we have the conversation, the more options that you're going to have. This is not about judgment, this is about protection. Let's make sure your finances work for your future and not against it. That story I just shared, there's something else it reveals that a lot of people miss. The wrong agent can cost you more than just time and money. They can cost you options. And when you're already in a tough spot, hiring the wrong person makes everything harder. You need the right agent, and the truth is, you don't know if someone's the right agent if they're the only one that you talked to. I can't stress this enough. I say this all the time: interview at least 3 agents minimum. You're not being difficult. Trust me, you're being diligent. Listen, the real estate industry has a lot of voices, and unfortunately, not all of them are focused on you. Some agents are just looking for their next listing sign out in a yard. Some will give you a slick sales pitch, say whatever they think you want to hear, and disappear once the paperwork is gone. You're not selling a house, you're starting a transition. And you need someone who's in it with you from start to finish. So when you sit down with those agents, don't just listen for how impressive they sound, listen for how well they understand your specific situation. Do they ask thoughtful questions about why you're moving? Do they bring solutions, or do they just bring slogans? Do they talk strategy, or do they just talk about themselves? The right agent will listen more than they speak. They'll help you calm the chaos, build a plan, and walk with you, not ahead of you. And here's a little pro tip: ask them how they handle setbacks. Not just how fast can you sell my house, but what happens if things don't go according to plan? Because the agent who's honest with you about challenges and has a plan for them, that's the one that you want in your corner. This is more than a transaction, it's a turning point in your life, and the right guide can make all the difference. Because once you've got the right person on your side, it's time to focus on what's next. Which brings us to our next big step. You're not just trying to get out, you're trying to move forward, you're running towards something. And unless there's a clear game plan for that next chapter, you could find yourself stuck in the same cycle all over again. I've seen it happen. Someone literally sells their home, breathes a sigh of relief, and then realizes they didn't really think about what's next. They settle for something that's just good enough, a place that really doesn't fit their needs, their family, or their future. And 6 months later, the stress is back. The bills are high, the space doesn't work, and they're wondering how they ended up here again. And that's not what I want for you. Having a game plan means asking the right questions now, not after the boxes are packed. And what do you need in your next home that you don't have now? That's the first question I ask. What kind of neighborhood will support your lifestyle and your family goals? How long do you plan to stay there? And does this move fit into that bigger picture? And just like choosing the right agent to sell your home, you need someone who's going to help you get where you're going, not just close a deal and disappear. Some agents are only focused on the sale, but I'm focused on the story because you're not just selling a house, you're setting up your next chapter. And I want to make sure that chapter is one you're excited to live. Don't forget to download your free home seller playbook. It is more than just a checklist, it is a guide to help you navigate every part of the transaction. You can download it right now by clicking on the link in the description or visiting gahomehub.com. Whether you're just thinking about selling or you're in the thick of it, I want you to know you're not alone and you can do this. Thanks for watching. I'm Ben Dings, and I'll see you next time.